Welcome in. You already know what time it is. Alex Kleininger in the building. Let's dive into the Nexus. Let's dive into the Nexus. Step into the zone. Carolina stories got a life of their home. From the pages to the labs, yeah, we break it all down. If you love those books, you're at the right sound. Let's dive into the Nexus. Yeah, the mic stay reckless. Hometown justice, legends in the message. Casey Elkins on the trail, solving cases non-stop. Turn it up loud, yeah, the Nexus don't stop. We talk block twists, characters, theories. Author Q&A, getting answers you've been hearing. Special guests slide through, pull up a seat. Chaotic conversations with the Carolina heat. From small town drama to the mysteries deep. Every chapter got secrets we're ready to keep. Laughs laid back with the energy wild. If you read Kleininger, you already family now. Let's dive into the Nexus, step into the zone. Carolina stories got a life of their own. From the pages to the laughs, yeah, we break it all down. If you love those books, you'll act the right sound. Let's dive into the Nexus, come and connect us. Alex Kleininger live, yeah, you rocking with the Nexus. Hit play, stay tuned. Every episode fresh. Welcome to the Carolina Nexus. Brought to you straight from Carolina soil. Press play and let's dive in.
Welcome to the Carolina Nexus. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in. It's become our tagline here. I'm your host, local author, Al Kleininger. Before we get into the discussion today, I have a few things to address. First and most importantly, a big Carolina Nexus shout out to the Bassmaster, Jack Morgan. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Jack Morgan. I hope it's as awesome as you are. Have the day you deserve, and don't work too hard. Secondly, the success of the Vince Raymond and Luke Mitchell show last week was surprising. I have received emails and with questions from viewers that didn't watch the event live, but tuned into it after the show posted to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Therefore, tomorrow's show, I will be answering all those questions live on the air. Unfortunately, unless the emails included a viewer name, I will be unable to present who asked what question. Bear with me on that, guys. I will get to that. Before we dive into character discussions today, I want to take time to play a video I shared last week in hopes of getting everyone pumped and believing in themselves. So without further ado, here's a special message from the greatest Power Ranger to do it, Jason David Frank. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, I just want to tell you that as JDF, I want you to always remember, stay motivated. Never say the words, I can't. Always say, I can. Always say, I will. Never say, I won't. And I just want you to wear this to protect you, to give you the motivation to succeed in life and to become who you want to become. And always remember, no matter who says anything, you are you, and you should be your biggest fan and be proud. Wear this always to protect you, and wear it and have that confidence, and always know JDF believes in you and you believe in yourself. Much love, much respect.
That video brings goosebumps. He was a true inspiration to us all. I hate that I never got to meet him in person. I've talked to him on video chats. He's very inspirational, and that video will always be my inspiration to continue forward when I'm having trouble. And as a few friends of mine have pointed out, I've been having some trouble lately, but I'm overcoming the troubles, and I'm going to keep moving forward because that's what JDF would want. That's what I want. The only way to advance my life is to move forward. I can't sit here and wallow in self-pity. Enough about that. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of today's show, we're doing character discussions on Marcus Bagwell, who will be our first and foremost, because I feel like he's not going to take the longest time to discuss. Marcus Bagwell, I can't really say who I based him on before that question comes into the chat room. Um, but yes, Amber, I named our son after JDF. Not JDF himself, his character, Tommy Oliver. But enough about that. Back to character discussions with Marcus Bagwell. I can't really say who I based him off of. He is sort of a amalgamation of several people in my life. His first name Marcus comes from there was a kid in one of my classes that was really quiet, and that was him. His name was Marcus. I don't remember his last name. I don't remember what class I had him in or any of that stuff. I just remember this kid, and he was scary, like scary silent. So when I started writing this character, his name was just Marcus because that's all I can remember about him. Well, when I gave the character more prominence in the story, I had to give him a last name to connect him back to the story. So I chose the name Bagwell because, as a pro wrestling fan, I often late at night would scour pro wrestling websites to look at dirt sheets, et cetera, and Buff Bagwell popped up, and there, boom, the name stuck. Buff Bagwell is a WCW wrestler. For those of you that don't know, um, there's no one behind me, Jack Morgan. But Buff Bagwell was a WCW mid card wrestler who gained prominence as part of the NWO. He was my mom's favorite wrestler because she considered him attractive. Anyways, I met Buff in person, and if I'm not mistaken, his real name is Marcus too. But I met him in person. I told him I based this character, used his last name for this character, and he told me that was cool as long as he didn't do the blockbuster. So there we go. Now, Marcus, in the prequel, Marcus starts out as a friend to Alex and Ken and Ty, and during the 11 years that Alex is away, some stuff pops off that prevents Marcus from following the straight and narrow path in life. He becomes affiliated with Tommy Leon's. In Hometown Justice Book 1, there is a flashback scene. I think it's in Chapter 3. One moment. Got to check something real quick. I'm almost 100% sure it's in Chapter 3. There's a flashback that explains how Tommy and Marcus become acquainted, and I'm almost 100% sure. Yes, it is Chapter 3. It takes place 1 year after Alex leaves for the Marines. Sheriff Alhan Ruler, Alex's father, is closing up or helping close up one of the bars in town, and he walks outside and sees Marcus sort of off to the side in the alleyway, covered in alcohol and piss and vomit, and that starts his downfall down the dark path that would become him joining up with Tommy and helping Tommy take over the town. And the reason Tommy chose Marcus is explained in Book 1. He chose Marcus because Marcus was someone the town didn't consider a threat, had knowledge on everyone in town, and knew who to avoid, how to avoid them. So that's sort of the reasoning behind Tommy choosing Marcus. And it gets more in depth in Book 2. They go into more details as to why he was chosen, and stuff like that. So sorry, I'm moving some stuff around here. Trying to get my pillow situated. My back is killing me. Let me find my mouse so I can answer some questions on screen here. Will Marcus ever get a redemption arc like some other characters do? That's a really tough question to answer because I haven't planned on Marcus getting a redemption. Um, not not a full redemption. He gets a, what's the word looking for? He gets a revenge arc, but he's not the one getting the revenge. Someone else gets revenge for hopeful on Marcus. Um, Not giving details of how that happens, but Marcus in Trilogy 2, when most of Tommy's men are getting a redemption, Marcus doesn't. And there's a reason behind that. You'll have to pick up the second trilogy to find out, which Hometown Justice Hostile will be releasing in March. So be on the lookout for that. Good question, Amber. Good question. Jay Morgan, happy birthday to you again. I hope you have the best one yet. Spend some time out on the riverbank, catch you a fish or two, cook them up. Have a good day. That back there, that's just a chair full of stuff. I'm in an old building, Jack, filming because the place that I normally film at is inaccessible to me at this point. So here's the thing about Marcus that you will learn if you read that flashback in chapter 3 of book 1. There is his father is a drunk, and that's why Marcus is doing the things he does in the flashback. But Marcus, sorry, I gotta get my W energy. But Marcus is told by Alhan that he cannot allow his father's mistakes to shape his future. Basically telling him, just because your daddy made the mistake of being the town drunk, don't mean you got to be the town drunk. We will learn that Marcus's brother, Brutus, went to juvie just to avoid the abuse from his alcoholic dad. You guys haven't done it already? Check out W. That wasn't supposed to happen. So my daughter, who is home from school sick today, has a off the wall question. What made you start writing in the first place? Well, are you asking what made me start writing the books or in general? Different answer for both of those. If you're asking about the books, it was a class project in high school for creative writing. If you're asking about writing in general, if you recall the Vince Raymond episode, I brought Vinny Raman on, my childhood best friend, and the guy that I call my baby brother because he's younger than me. he and I used to create characters and explore our backyard and turn it into different worlds every day. Well, when it got to the point that I couldn't do that because of the weather or because he was grounded or I was grounded, I'd make the adventures on my computer and we would live them out that way once we were able to go back outside or he was ungrounded or I was ungrounded, whatever the case may be. A lot of my short stories from my childhood revolved around the characters that he and I created in the backyard. But good question. Thank you for asking it. Um, I've already gone on record and said this. The class project from creative writing class in high school was to take a movie or a book, rip the characters from said movie or book, and put my own characters into it. And took it a step further. I took the entire characters, the setting. I took everything out of the Walking Tall, the Buford Buster story, and put my own characters into it. And then sort of ran with it and gave it a life of its own. So it's not really a fan fiction of the Walking Tall series. It became a life of its own. I'm gonna give a few more minutes on the questions for Marcus Bagwell before we jump into the Alexander Graham ruler. That one's gonna be a majority of this show because he's the main character of the series, and I know there's gonna be a lot of questions about him. So I'm gonna give about 5 to 10 more minutes on Marcus Bagwell for new viewers that's just tuning in that might have questions. We are talking about Marcus Bagwell, a character from my books. He is one of the primary antagonists. He's most often called the second in command. So there's that, which shows you the level of trust that Tommy Leons has in Marcus. He's also sort of Tommy's computer geek. In most of his scenes, he's got a laptop or a computer with him. I'm going to capitalize off a question that my producer asked me last week. How do I take people that I know and put them into my books? And that is, again, with the Marcus character, I just combined the qualities of people that had wronged me and didn't give me permission to use characters. I just took their worst qualities and made them into Marcus. Now, the family of the Bagwells is based off another family that I knew very well growing up in Pokeful. And that family is most often shunned. They don't interact with other families very often, and when they do, it's always rudely. Um, can't say the family's name. I have not been given permission to do that. Just know that every interaction I ever had with them, it was something rude, um, or them talking shit about my grandfather, which was a quick way to get on my bad side as a kid. Still is today, but even more so as a kid because I was brash and I didn't think before I acted. Um, but the family that the Bagwells are based off of. They no longer, to my knowledge, they no longer live in Popeful. But then again, I haven't lived in Popeful in years, so I couldn't tell you if they still live there or not. Oh, another question in the comments section, again from my wife. Can you list any good qualities of Marcus Bagwell? I can't think of any. LOL. Well, he kicked his alcoholism in the flashback. After talking with Alex's dad, he kicked the alcoholism thing. That's the one good quality. He didn't follow his dad's path and become the town drunk. I guess another quality would be he kind of has respect for Mr. and Mrs. Ruler, Alex's parents, considering how they fed him and gave him a place to be safe when his dad was drunk and wanting to harm him. There's more on that in the prequel, just so you know. Angel Bell, welcome to the show. If you have any questions about Marcus Bagwell or Alex Ruler, now's your time to answer them. Or ask them. I'll put them on the screen and I'll answer them. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the Carolina Nexus. So yeah, I think that quality of Marcus not following his dad's footsteps and becoming the town drunk is probably the only redeeming quality he has, or the only good quality he has. Should I say? They you don't really get to see much good in him. I remember a scene that I wrote in, I think it was chapter 2, may have been chapter 1, where he asked about Alex's sister Amy, and he kind of gets this look in his eye. Now, mind you, Marcus is the same age as Alex, and Amy was 4 years younger than Alex in the prequel, so it's not really much. And it's hinted in the prequel that Marcus has a crush on her, and it's hinted in the Hometown Justice Homecoming that Marcus has a crush on her, but nothing ever came of it. But he's still crushing on Amy Ruler, and that could possibly have been a redeeming quality or a good quality, but the way he goes about it, he doesn't try to prevent harm from befalling upon Amy or Chase or any of the rulers for that matter. He just does what Tommy says blindly and believes Tommy and Tommy's money will pull him out. All right, Amber, do you have any more questions about Marcus Bagwell before we switch over and start talking about the main course of this episode? Because I'm pretty sure that's where all the questions are going to come from. Oh. Big Mike Mathis, welcome to the show. If this is your first time watching the Carolina Nexus, Mike, we deep characters to the lore of the story, and we discuss them in depth. And I give you tidbits of information that you may or may not find in the story on the pages. So, yeah, that's what we're here for. So if you've got questions about Marcus Bagwell or Alex Ruler, ask them here. I'll answer them live. If you have questions about if you have questions about Vince Raymond and Luke Mitchell, email them to me, Facebook message them to me, text them to me, and I'll answer them tomorrow on tomorrow's show, because a lot of people have sent me questions. I'm going to answer them tomorrow. Britt Shepard, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you joining me. We're going to move on now to Alexander Graham Ruler. I've already got questions coming in about him, so let's put his name on the screen here. Gunnery Sergeant Alexander Graham Ruler. Before I answer the question that has been asked in the comment section, let me give a little bit of details and background about this character. He started out as Buford Pusser. I ripped Buford Pusser from the story, and I put in a character that was considered a John Doe, which is any character you can put into any story that makes sense. I wrote it like that. His character name was literally John Doe. When it came time to write the secondary draft, I was told to give him a name other than John Doe. Okay. So I thought about it. And none of the characters that I would put into there in that position made sense. And I remember, again, Vinny and I had bukus of characters that we created and used on many of our imaginary adventures in the backyard, because imagination was all we had back in the day. We didn't get to sit in the house and stay online like kids do these days. We'd take our little acre and a half of land and turn it into whatever we needed to be for the day. Think Phineas and Ferb. That was me and Vinny, except we didn't build giant robots and shit. But one of the characters we created for the backyard was the character of Alex Ruler. And going into this, I knew his full name was going to be Alexander Ruler. Alexander Ruler was me, with all the heroic qualities I wish I had, but with the brashness and stubbornness of an anime hero. Come on, Mike. Anyways, so the character of Alexander Ruler, he was born, and when I was writing the story, I didn't know where I wanted him at in the military. I just knew he was going to be a Marine. Again, because of Vinny and taking me to see John Cena's Marine in 2007. So I stuck with the name Alexander Ruler, and the character was called Alex Ruler, because I don't like my first name. My first name's Charles. It's on the cover of the books. I dislike it with a passion. I've always been called Alex unless I've been in trouble. That's when my mom pulls out Charles Alexander, and it goes from there. But that's beside the point. I'd never liked my first name. I was going to have it changed to 18. That was my plan. For 18 years, well, not 18 years. I didn't know about it the first couple of years, but from age of 5 until 18, so 13 years, I was going to change my first name when I turned 18. And the reason I hated my name is Gilligan's Island. So with Gilligan's Island, the rich guy on there, his name was Charles, and he was a dick to Gilligan, who was my favorite character. So I didn't like the fact I was named after this guy, or had the same name as this guy. I wasn't named after the character on Gilligan's Island. I was named after my dad's best friend, one of my dad's best friends. Another time, another story for another place. But I hated the name. Hey, Miss Vicky, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you listening. But I hated the rich guy on Gilligan's Island whose name was Charles. So I made the decision then I was going to change my name. Well, about the 8th grade, my parents took us to the battleship in Wilmington. It's a museum, and you get to walk across it and explore it. Well, there's a plaque on the wall in this museum with my name on it. Charles Alexander Cloninger, February 22nd. I forget the year this guy was born, but he served in World War II. He died on the battleship. And because I'm a big supporter of our military and, bleed red, white, and blue, I decided at that point I wasn't going to change my name because I was named word for word after this guy, even though my dad didn't know it at the time. He's my great uncle, something like that. Anyway, he served in World War II. He died on the battleship. He died a hero, and that was the inspiration for Alex Ruler having the military background because I couldn't join the military due to me having scoliosis of the spine and asthma. Mike, you have a good time. Don't work too hard. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, buddy. Put your earbuds in and listen, though. So, when I made the character, I decided I wasn't going to use the name Charles because I still don't like the name Charles, even though I'm cool with my name being Charles, named after a World War II hero. So I gave my character the name Alexander. Well, I lived in Blacksburg at the time. It was my final years of high school when the project was given to me in creative writing class. And at the time, the PlayStation 2 was phasing out, but the PlayStation 3 was phasing in. And I still had my PS2. I was going to use it to. I mean, I used it throughout my high school year. I didn't get a PS3 after I graduated high school, but that's beside the point. On the PlayStation 2, I had the video game Resident Evil 4, which is one of the greatest Resident Evil games ever created, in my opinion. And it may be a wrong opinion, but it was. And the female character that Leon Kennedy is sent to rescue in Resident Evil 4, which causes the whole video game to go down, her name is Ashley Graham. She's the president's daughter. And I had been doing research on her for a fan fiction I was writing, and I decided to give the middle name Graham to my character. That's the only explanation I have for it. I don't really remember what was going through my mind when I created the character at that time, but Alexander Graham Ruler was born. Initially, he was just a Marine coming home. I later gave him the rank of gunnery sergeant, Alexander Graham Ruler, which you see at the bottom of the screen there. And that is after talking to some real life Marines and asking them what rank would be the most active in a war scenario. My producer, Scott Larson, he gave me some insight. His dad gave me some insight. I've talked to other Marines. My cousin, Billy Jones, who's in the military, he's in the Army, he gave me some insight. And I settled on Gunnery Sergeant Alexander Graham Ruler for two reasons. One, so his military buddies can call him Gunny. And that's it's my love of NCIS coming through there because that's what all of Agent Gibbs' friends call him, Gunny. I did the research. I found out that's the rank where they give you that nickname. I also did research and determined that I wanted him to be heavily involved in combat, but not just armed combat, hand-to-hand combat. So that's where he gets his martial arts background from. I'm apologizing now if you hear the dogs barking in the background. These walls are thin. The neighbor's dog's losing their shit. Ignore it. I'll do my best to talk over it. If you can't hear me, let me know. So now let me get to this question that was asked by my wife a few minutes ago. I didn't forget about you, Amber. She said, shout out to Gibbs. I knew it was coming. I didn't forget about your question, Amber. I just was moving on real quick. Her question, though, was when someone reads your book and they read Alex's name, are they supposed to imagine your face? I'm asking because that's what I do. Honestly, if you imagine my face, that's fine. But I do have a picture, a fan art, if you will, of young Alex Ruler. I'm waiting for the artist to send me older Alex Ruler. Let me see if I can find that fan art again. Hold on. Nope. Desktop. No, that's not why I need that. What the frick is it? Maybe it's in here. Yes. There's the fan art of Alex Ruler as a child. I'm thinking that's right after high school. The person that drew this did really amazing. He also drew, or they also drew Casey Elkins and Ty and Ken, but for some reason they made Ken look really, really old, like old man Logan old. But this is Alex Ruler, so this is the face you should be seeing a little bit older when you're reading the book. Yes, Miss Vicky, I agree. That is pretty cool. And the person that drew it, really fantastic artist. I can't really complain. They asked me if I gave them permission to draw my characters, and I said yes, go for it. Just how I am, I'm not giving people permission to make money off of it, but if you want to take a stab at drawing my characters, who am I to say no? Like, I'm not going to be that guy. I have intellectual ownership of the property. I'll give you permission to draw them, give you permission to do pretty much anything you want to with it. I'm just not going to let you make money off of it unless you're paying me for it. That's a different story. You want to talk to me about making some money together? We can make some money together. Scott Larson and I, my producer, we're wanting to do a small budget, low budget film and or TV series, and these characters are some of the characters we're going to work with. But back to Alexander Graham Ruler, his time in the military. I've had people ask questions about that. My cousin Brandy Earwood, she told me she would love to read a story about his time in the military and how he met Aiden and Kenji and Kuro, which is cool. I plan on writing that one day, because that part of his life plays an important part in the story, and I feel like that's something that needs to be told. Now the story centers around Alex coming back home. The prequel centers around him growing up and meeting Kai and Ken. His first few interactions with Allison, their friendship. It really explores a lot. You got to read the prequel, which for those of you that can't pronounce it, it's Tigapagon, an amalgamation of tiger, ape, and dragon. It's called, the first one's called Enter the Tiger. The second one is called Taming the Dragon. I don't know when it'll be finished, but I'm currently writing it, and it takes the story to Okinawa, Japan, which I think is pretty cool. I've never been to Japan. I'd love to go, especially to Okinawa, but it takes place in Okinawa and partially in Pokeful, so we'll be seeing both of them. And the three friends will be learning some new stuff about their fighting style. But anyways, back on topic. When Alex comes back home, the back of the book say it all. He plans on resuming martial arts training, helping his family on the farm, and stretching his civvy legs. But fate has other plans for it. Due to actions in the books, he becomes the equal and opposite force to Tommy Leon's, and that sets up the first trilogy. Ooh, new question from the wife. Out of all of your flaws, which did you actually give the character of Alex Ruler, and which of Alex Ruler's flaws are made up? Put me on the spot, why don't you? I'd have to say My flaw that I gave Alex Ruler would be the rushing in that he tends to do a lot of. I don't do it in real life. I do it virtually in video games. I will rush into a boss fight without preparing anything. I won't buy potions. I won't do any of that stuff. Rush headlong into it, then get mad at myself for losing. Alex tends to do that too as a character. He will, especially if his family's involved, he will act without thinking and then think of the consequences later. Now, his flaws that are made up, his flaws that are made up, he believes in redemption for everyone, no matter how wrong they've done it. Me personally, redemption can occur and people do change. But people like Tommy Leon's, in my personal opinion, will use redemption as a way of getting what they want. That's why it's a struggle writing Tommy Leon's as a character, because I know at some point I want to do a Tommy Leon's redemption arc, and me personally, I believe Tommy Leon's is going to use his redemption as a means to an end. But while I'm writing, I have to put my personal feelings aside to make the character happen. And that's really hard to do. For those of you that's never done that before, sit down and try to do it. Write you a character that conflicts with your personal opinions, and see if you keep it unbiased. Good question, Amber. Thank you for tuning in for that one. Miss Vicky and Brittany and Angel, you guys can ask your questions too if you have any. I'm not just answering my wife's questions. So that pretty much. Amber says, for real, somebody help me ask questions. Normally Scott's in here asking questions. I'm guessing he's still sleeping, or he's having issues with his health, which is understandable. Scott Larson, we love you. Hope you're having a great day today. Thanks for being the awesome producer and friend that you are. So, couple of announcements. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., I will be online, live, answering questions that have been sent in to me from viewers that didn't get to watch the show live about Luke Mitchell and Vince Raymond. And if I get any tonight about Alex Ruler or Marcus Bagwell, I'll answer them tomorrow as well. Most of these have been emailed to me, which is weird because I don't remember putting my email address out there for people to know. But it is what it is. I won't know their names unless they put their name in the email, but I will pop it up on the screen and we will answer it together. And maybe, just maybe, somebody will piggyback off one of them and give me something else to talk about. The Thursday show, I will spin the wheel to end this show to determine the next character discussion we have, and that will be Thursday's show, because tomorrow's show is going to be dedicated to answering questions sent in after the show has ended. So bear with me on that. We're going to do the character discussion on Thursday. Wednesday will be for answering questions that were sent in after the shows have ended and have been posted to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I may be doing a later show. Still trying to get the details in, but that all depends on what the spin the wheel lands on for Thursdays, the end of Thursday show. She said she wasn't going to ask this question. She says, "Fine, I got another one. Will we ever get to see slash read about the start of Alex and Allison's relationship? I want to see what on earth Alex was thinking." Okay, to answer y'all's question, yes, the Allison hate is real here. My wife dislikes Allison because of the first book, the flashback scene that Alex shares about Allison. But to answer her question, if you read the Tygapagon series, you will see the beginning of the relationship, and you will probably get to see the end of that relationship. Um, I know in Hometown Justice, he tries to reconnect, and they set off thinking that they decide that they're better off being friends because Tommy will use her to hurt Alex, is the reason they give the readers. But they agree. They agree that they'll give it a shot in the future. Then something happens in Hometown Justice Aftermath that prevents that from happening. And I think it's a beautiful end to that. But, and this is going to make my wife so mad, but from the author to the readers, to the fans of the series, Allison and Alex are in game. It's been that way since the very first draft. But now I'm adding in more details and making their journey to being in game a lot more emotional and to give it meaning. So yes, Amber, you will see the rise, the rise, the steady, and the fall of that relationship in the prequels. Give me just a second, guys. And just so you guys know, she hates the character of Allison. She doesn't really know the person that Allison's based off of. And I will get into that when we do the Allison Jurgens episode. I know Amber won't be participating in that episode because she doesn't really care about Allison. But I expect questions at least. I know Amber and another one of my friends have stated they want to make the I Hate Allison fan club, which is fine. They charge a membership fee of $89.99 to join, and it's a yearly membership fee. So do with that information as you will, please, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting ready to pull up the wheel because my hour is almost up, and I'm trying to keep these shows at just an hour, unless there's a lot of interaction with people. So give me just a moment. Let me bring up the wheel. It's not what I wanted you to do. I literally just said that. You don't have a reason to hate the actual person because you don't know who she is. Ah, there we go. All right, guys, I'm going to spin the wheel, find out who Thursday's show will be about. Let's do this. Show of hands. Who wants it to be somebody interesting? We're going to spin the wheel for character number 1. And that character is Sensei Yoshimoto Kwando. That's going to be a big one. Next character we will be doing a discussion on will be Brutus Bagwell. So this is the order we're going to do it in, guys. We're going to do it in the order of Brutus Bagwell, then Yoshimoto Kwando, because even though Yoshimoto has only appeared so far in flashbacks in Hometown Justice Homecoming, he's a very important character, and there's a lot to discuss about him. So we'll focus on Brutus Bagwell first, which is Marcus' brother. I mentioned him earlier in the show, and then we'll focus on Yoshimoto. You have until Thursday. Get your questions together for those two characters. Meet me back live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at 10 a.m. Thursday morning for Carolina Nexus podcast. We're going to dive in. We're going to have fun. We're going to discuss these characters. You guys have a good day. I'm about to bounce. Take it easy. This has been the Carolina Nexus. See you next week. Or not next week. See you next show tomorrow.